Are you a fan of David Lynch? For the entire month of October, we're going to be talking about David Lynch movies. Make sure you subscribe so you can see what movies we're talking next. Welcome back to the Paradizo podcast. We have such a great episode lined up for today. This is a fucking banger of a movie. We're talking Mulholland Drive. Brad's here, obviously. Jeff's
here.
Dwoskin. Jeff Dwoskin is joining us today, as is Gunnar Wallgren, who you might have seen in whatever episode we did with him.
Yes.
And I'm here because I'm here for all of them. So we're very excited. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm ready to hate on David Lynch less this time.
That's not where I thought you were going to go with that.
I went in thinking because I'd seen it once before a couple of years ago, and I started. I mean, we're doing Mulholland Drive this week. That's the app.
It's Lynchtober.
Lynchtober, exactly.
Lynchtober. I'm not married to that name.
Yeah. I guess,
but that is not a great name. That is still what we are calling it.
Some of the YouTube comments let me know they didn't. They also weren't fans of the name.
Dave,
but we already said it, so it's sticking.
It's hard to come back from.
Yeah. Got to dedicate once you do that.
Yeah. All right, what were you saying?
I really liked it. I didn't like it the first time I'd seen it, which was probably like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. But I don't know, and I think it's Mulholland Drive is like the quintessential David Lynch movie. I think
definitely his most commercial.
When people think
I think Twin Peaks might be.
I was gonna say behind Twin Peaks, but it is the most normie David Lynch movie. Which again, not an insult. It's a good movie, but it's got the most mainstream appeal. Is what I would say. I think about it.
Jeff, what is your life with David Lynch like? Your experience?
I don't have much of a life with David Lynch, to be honest. I had not seen the movie, but of course wouldn't pass up the opportunity to be here in this basement. And
who wouldn't?
No, I'm just kidding. No, so when you said Mulholland Drive, it was a movie I was very aware of. Had just never seen it. Very aware of Twin Peaks as well, but just have never seen it. No reason I didn't see it, I just hadn't. And so I did see it. I'm still not 100% clear what I saw, so I'm looking forward to kind of talking through it with you. This will be a little therapy for me.
That's what we do here on Paradizo Films. So we therapize David Lynch movies. Brad, what was your first thoughts on this? Had you heard of this movie?
I did hear of it. Okay. I think I would consider myself fairly normie, so I think that's how I heard of it. But I very much, of all the David Lynch films I've watched, this one made me the least uncomfortable.
Okay. And
I was more invested in this one than the previous ones. So overall, I enjoyed it. My experience is similar to Jeff. I haven't been avoiding David Lynch. Just hasn't come up yet. Yeah, but
hasn't crossed.
Now I'm in the thick of it.
Yeah.
When you say the least uncomfortable, in like a good or bad way, because
in a good way.
Okay.
In a good way, because these last couple episodes, I've been like, I'm just not jazzed about these films.
Fair enough.
But this one, I'm like, no, I would rewatch this
one.
Yes, I get that, but I get also something can be so jarring that it's uncomfortable in a good way.
I am very open to that experience as well. It's just this one, thankfully, I was like, oh, this is mostly pleasant.
It's nice people in this one.
My first reaction after seeing it was that I want to see it again. Because I was very like, what the fuck is going on the whole time? And then when you start to, now I'm kind of getting it. Now I need to rewatch it.
Reset,
I need to see if I can figure out that Bruce Willis was dead.
Yeah,
right. That kind of thing.
Yeah,
I feel that actually because I did watch. Obviously, I watched it and I was like, okay, I feel like now that I've seen all of it, I feel like there may have been pieces I've missed. So a rewatch would probably be good to get the entire Mulholland Drive experience.
Yeah.
That can often be a sign of a good movie, though, is you have to go back to it and you get something out of it every time you see
it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And there's movies like that are less like a surrealist thing, like David Lynch movies. Like, I think I've seen like the first few times I saw Train Spotting, I kind of got something different out of it every time I watched it. So it's definitely rewatch value is good in a movie.
Yeah. I feel that way about Quentin Tarantino movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say Pulp Fiction is one that I think a lot of people go back to.
I hated Pulp Fiction the first time I saw it.
Yeah,
hate may be a strong word, but I did not enjoy it, and I consider it now one of my favorite films ever. I just needed to. Sometimes something
right,
just hits you
yeah.
and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And then you got to rewatch it. That's how I feel about Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
That's funny. I hated Mulholland Drive the first time I saw it, and then I watched it again,
Look
and I'm
at
like,
that.
okay, I'm starting to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a bit of not insight. I have
What's
learned
the scoop?
something about this film because I did research like I do sometimes. So this film, it was supposed to be a pilot, and it was shot as a pilot for a television series. That's, and David Lynch said he wanted to keep it like open-ended. So like the car accident and Adam like getting fired from the movie, he saw all those being their own like separate like story plots for a television series. And obviously, this is 99, so he's hot off of Twin Peaks. Not really. He's somewhat off of Twin Peaks at this point. And so he's got that hot pilot energy going. And so, but then the studio executives, they saw it. They're like, no, this is too weird. We don't want to make this into a TV show. And so he re-edited it into Mulholland Drive, the film.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how, and I've never like looked into it, but like, you ever talk about the previous David Lynch movies you guys have seen for the show? Like, what was the level of commercial success for these? Like, what budget did he get?
So
Who saw these in theaters?
He had a budget of $15 million,
Chump
and it
change
made
for Hollywood
$7
budget.
million. So
There's some directors that just get to make movies and it doesn't matter. Like Woody
Yeah.
Allen. Has anyone seen a Woody Allen film?
there's reasons why I have.
Yeah.
But there's
Recently,
reasons why people don't see him anymore.
Right. But they were never huge commercial successes, right?
Right.
So
I
it's
think
kind of
Annie Hall.
maybe back in the like you're going back.
Well, that was his first
Yeah.
like.
I don't even think I've seen
He's made a lot of
He's
movies.
made a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely like majority of celebrated directors like their films aren't commercial when they first come out. It's always like in the rewatch.
This is pretty late David Lynch, though, if you look at his whole career, though.
Yeah.
From what he's done. But like I said, I think this one has like the most like cultural staying power.
Yeah,
like if
people,
people
like,
have
know
seen
about
a
this.
David
Yeah.
Lynch movie, they've seen Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, I think it's because of that sex. It's a famous sex scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I always heard of it. Is that it had a famous sex scene in it?
Yeah. He's a horn dog, but
He is.
I think it's interesting too. You say that this got shut down as like a pilot for I don't know what network Twin Peaks
ABC.
was on. Twin Peaks was on ABC.
It was on ABC.
There was this
Really?
network
Yeah, wow.
like
Yeah,
damn.
Wow.
yeah,
But I don't know, and we can touch on this, but I love a movie that's like about the movies, and this one seemed to go really hard on how terrible of a place Hollywood is.
Yeah.
That was like the big takeaway. So, I can imagine the bigwigs at the studio not liking seeing themselves portrayed
Yeah.
in such a light.
yeah,
Mhm.
It was a pretty dark take. Yeah.
yeah.
We can do spoilers on this.
Yeah,
Okay.
I suppose.
I didn't have one at the moment. I
Yeah.
just wanted to pre-prep.
Everyone dies. Well, yeah, I guess.
I
We've
guess,
already
yeah.
started spoiling. We said sex scene.
Oh man, yeah. That sex scene comes like long into the movie too.
Right.
What else? Too easy.
No.
Boom.
Wah.
All right, the story begins. There's some dancing. There's like weird, like poorly edited videos of people
Is that
dancing.
swing?
Swing
Is that
music.
Sock hops.
I think we
Swing.
later learned.
Sock
I think we later
soap parlors.
jitterbug.
Yeah, Jitterbug. That's I think what.
Yeah. A bunch of people dancing.
Classic David
Malt
Lynch.
shops.
Big 50s nostalgia guy.
50s
Yeah.
nostalgia.
I do appreciate that element. I for some reason am
Yeah.
with that Americana bullshit.
Yeah, he like that's his. He loves that his like Midwestern Americana, and even though it's not really in this one, but still, it's like a little bit.
There was a taste.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Especially at the intro too, when you see this character. I mean, it's the introduction to her. She's very innocent.
Yeah.
So I think that like Americana bullshit is sort of a sign of innocence
Right.
for the character.
It's
so,
his Dorothy. That's
Yeah,
what we.
it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
she's
for
stepping
sure.
out of-
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Even though she's Canadian,
It's true. Yeah.
but that still counts.
He's basically Canadian, David Lynch. He's from like the farthest north point of Minnesota, right by the border.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's pretty
That's-
north.
Yeah.
Why do you think he talks like that?
That's a good
He's
point,
from
yeah.
the Northern Great Lakes.
It does
Yeah.
make sense.
It's also dependent on how you feel the film actually is. Whether when is that revealed that she's from Canada? I can't remember in the film. Is that in the beginning?
I believe her introduction when she's leaving the airport, she says she came from Canada.
I believe that's right.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Joseph, put a clip here to prove one of us wrong. Yeah, I'm not sure when exact. At least when she first meets Rita, she tells her she's from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong.
Somewhere in the first 30 minutes of this film, she says out loud, "I am from Canada."
So,
so that could be part of the kind of the dream.
Mm-hmm.
But I think okay. So Rita, we don't know her name. Black hair lady. She's driving in this car. It stops on Mulholland Drive. And the driver, he points a gun at her, and she's like, "What are you doing?" But then there's a big crash. There's some college students messing around. There's a big crash. She's the only survivor. And she stumbles down to Sunset Boulevard. You guys ever been to Sunset Boulevard?
No.
Never been to California.
Oh.
No intention either.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably could.
I've driven through Hollywood. Like, I've been to the Comedy Store and stuff. I don't know if I ever went to Sunset Boulevard specifically. Okay. I've seen the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That counts.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He's going for the Hollywood aesthetic here. And especially, too, it's in that, like, stilted, surrealist, like the aesthetic of the film is very much Lynchian. It's very simple, but it's, you know, it's also kind of simple. You know, it doesn't feel like a big city movie because a lot of the shots are just interior, a couple of I mean, there's a few like, you know, the film set party scenes, but most of the movie takes place with very few characters in like a location that could just be anywhere. Yeah.
I think that's where like the ABC pilot like comes in, because when I was watching it, I remember thinking like this does feel like an independent film or like a very low budget film, and then finding out it's a pilot, and I'm like, well, that does make sense. Why, like, you know, I feel like TV stuff, it doesn't feel like as like this doesn't feel as cinematic as like a like Dune or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd agree with that. There's less, maybe I'm wrong, but there's less noticeable fancy like shots and transitions and stuff that I noticed.
A lot of handheld shots. That's something I picked up on. Is like a lot of shaky cam, a lot of weird like movements. You could tell he's just like standing with the camera, just like walking around with it.
Which was pretty in at the time. I can't remember exactly what that movement is
Blair
called.
Witch?
Blair Witch. Well, that's part of it.
I mean, Blair Witch, it came out like right after this.
Even like Dancer in the Dark, which came out around this time, that was kind of like Lars von Trier did sort of like that fake documentary style. Buffalo 66 is kind of like that. There's a name for the cinematic style. I can't think of it.
Mise en scène.
Because it was actually driving me crazy during that first half where it seemed if they were focused on the person, it was normal. But if it was their point of view, it was more shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it made more sense after seeing the whole movie and then kind of going back and understanding what that first half or so might have been. But yeah, that was definitely, I don't know if that was style or if it was, like you said, because it was going to be for TV.
It could be both. It's low budget style. You know, you kind of make it look and seem more sophisticated just by trying to save a couple bucks by not getting a camera set up and everything. But all right, so car accident goes down to Mulholland Drive.
She falls asleep. She wakes up in not elderly. She was kind of elderly. A lady is leaving her house, and so she sneaks in before the lady leaves. To go to, I believe she's going to Canada. I think she said
so, yeah.
All right, Canada confirmed a plot point in this movie.
It's a featured character.
It's a recurring theme in the movie, It's like Manhattan. It's a character in the movie.
Yes.
Which is exactly what you're supposed to do after suffering a head injury is fall asleep.
Right.
That's very good for you. If you get a concussion, just go to bed, sleep it off.
Yeah, I had that thought as well. I'm like, are we married to that idea?
Okay, and then so something that bothered me about the movie is that it kept on. I know this is like, okay, this is a weird complaint.
Did you say it?
No, it's but like it was never. It just kept on cutting to like different characters, and then it just sort of you never got anywhere with, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, very unrelated characters.
Unrelated characters, but also it just like with the main story. I think the main story was the two girls, but then like we spent so much time with Adam, and I'm just like, what does any of this have to do with the main story? And it barely has anything to do with it.
He puts them in because he wants like hot characters to symbolize different personality types in Hollywood, but it's like, if you're gonna do that, don't just make me feel like you wanted to write a character, so I'm putting the character in.
I think he represented the roles that Naomi Watts' character didn't get, that she lost to
Laura Herring. I had to look it up.
The other character, Laura, right? And Naomi, Camila, is that
Camila? Yeah,
that's right.
Rita,
Camila.
So I think it was constantly just different experiences that Betty / Debbie, what was her name at the end?
Debbie, I want to say Debbie.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I feel like it was.
I wrote it down.
Okay.
But Diane.
Okay. Here's a D, not a B.
I threw everyone off with the D. But it was so I think that's where it was, because I think it was all just pieces of her fragmented imagination.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say when they talk about this movie, it's very dreamlike, which it is, and also I think David Lynch said like, bunch of shit in this movie came to him in a dream. So it's not. I mean, it does look like it. It does look like fucking just. And dreams are like a recurring theme. So the next scene, two guys sitting at a diner, and one of the guys is like, I keep having this nightmare where I turn around and you're standing at the counter, and and there's someone like controlling it, and he's just like, oh, whatever, and then he goes and stands at the counter, and then they leave. And like a homeless woman pops out from behind the building, and he scares him to death.
Just died. He just scared to death. That was
never
funny.
Comes back.
You describing that scene right now sounds like you were just describing a dream you just had last night.
That was
homeless lady showed up.
That made no sense to me while it was going on either. The only thing I could maybe think of after the fact was it was just some repressed shit, because that's where she hired the person to kill the other character.
Yeah.
And so there was just some manifestations of that.
Well, it's, she gets the blue key, and you see that homeless woman, she's sitting with like her back to the wall at a later point. She has a blue box, which is key. And there's a lot of like weird symbolism that you like need to be super keyed in to pick up on. But like you said, like that's the spot where she hired the person too. And so I think that like this just like basically almost like blackface level of dirt and grime on this homeless woman's face, it's kind of supposed to be like symbolic for like the gross part of Hollywood, like the dirty underbelly in that way. I think that's part of what it is.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah. That actress, she plays the nun in the Nun movies.
Born to be scary.
Yeah.
Ready to be typecast.
Yeah, just a weird looking face. And so she was good.
But yeah, just talking about like convoluted symbolism and stuff. I learned this in my research. The DVD copy for this movie has a little flyer, and it's David Lynch's 10 clues to understanding this movie. You can look it up, put it on the screen if you want.
I found that,
He literally, he put on the DVD copy, it's like a list of 10 things, like the color, like red lampshade, red dress, like all these shots, and then like the blue key, the blue box. And it's like, dog, if you need to give your audience a cheat sheet to watch your movie, I mean, it might be a little bit convoluted.
Yeah, if you have to explain the joke. It's
yes,
funny.
exactly. So there's a DVD cheat sheet for this movie.
Funny.
I don't think he's ever come out and said, this is what it is.
No. He's famous for not doing that. I saw an interview where the interviewer was trying to get something out of him, and he was like, this movie doesn't make any sense. And he's like, no, the movie makes perfect sense. And it's like, okay, maybe to you the movie makes perfect sense, but to the general viewer, it's just like, what does this homeless woman have to do with Hollywood or whatever? And it's just,
Yeah.
Is that the same interview where he's like explaining? He's like, no.
No, that was different. That was about Eraserhead.
Okay, yeah. Same vibe though.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like I have to watch it again.
Yeah.
And then I still feel like that won't even be enough.
Yeah.
It's like you go back and kind of figure out, okay, this is now what I think it is based on. I mean, how many of us have to do research? Right? We all did research on it. And so it's like, and then later on again, okay, now here's my opinion of those opinions. I need to dig deeper, maybe.
Yes.
I think this is the rest of our lives, guys.
Oh man, just in a loop.
Oh, speaking of loops, this movie.
Good segue.
Okay, so we have Adam, Jewish last name. I don't know what his character's name was, but he's a director. He's making this big movie. He wrote this movie, and they're like, okay, he's meeting with the executives. They're like, we want you to cast this girl. And he's like, no, what? I'm not going to do that. And he's so mad about it. He takes his golf club that he has for some reason, and it never shows up again in the movie. And he smashes the bigwigs' limo with it. And the bigwigs, they're not happy about it. Their boss is a weird guy sitting in a chair in a room.
Yeah.
Most bosses are.
Most bosses are. That's a good point. Okay, he's a weird guy sitting in a weird room with a glass and a phone in it.
Yeah, very weird.
What David Lynch movie are you describing? A weird guy sitting in a weird room?
Yeah, I was thinking.
This sounds like David Lynch.
Yes.
Actually, I was thinking about Wild at Heart during that scene because I was like, this same exact thing happened to Wild at Heart.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy called a guy who called another guy to kill someone.
Which is interesting too, especially in this context. You think about like how this whole movie is supposed to be like an analog for Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's part of it is like there's this guy has a boss and this guy has a boss. And there's such this huge like sort of chain of command that anybody who like wants to do something creative or like has a vision for a movie, they have to go through 5 different people to get an actor approved, you know? And I think that's probably why, David Lynch resents Hollywood as much as I can imagine he does, is because he's very much like an auteur with a vision. And I can imagine for him having to work with like a big studio, it was just a pain, for probably both parties, the studio and him. I'm sure he's not easy to work with.
Definitely not.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, I'm sure maybe there's a little bit, and maybe not even just this film, maybe other films that he's doing or has done that also kind of hold a mirror to Hollywood. That was my point. Actually, he's kind of holding a mirror to it, or like it's his interpretation of the industry.
Yeah,
or his experience with it.
I believe Lost Highway does too, but I haven't seen Lost Highway. So
I want to see Lost Highway. I'll come on for that app when you guys do it. It's one I haven't seen, but I'm interested in.
Well, in the aspect of Hollywood, though, that he was diving into was really the kind of the jealousy and the darkness and the competitive nature of trying to succeed in the business.
Yeah.
Because everything really that ultimately happens is some kind of manifestation from, Betty or Diane's character, right? So all these things that she reinterpreted that were in her favor in the dream really are what screwed her in real life. And so, but that is, the jealousy that can drive to that type of behavior is, I'm sure, not a stretch.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. And this is another fun casting fact. The guy in the chair, he's the little guy from Twin Peaks.
I did recognize him, even though I've not seen Twin Peaks. I'm like, I know he's one of the Twin Peaks guys.
He's the little backwards talking man in Twin Peaks. I wanted to look up how they did that, where he looks tall, but I didn't look it up. So, but
I think the chair was just high up.
No.
maybe they Peter Jacksoned him.
Yeah. Well, no, because his limbs look very long.
He's got prosthetics on.
That
Cool noodles with a mannequin
I
hand on
think
at the end.
they cut someone else's head off and they put him behind that person's body.
Why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
It
would be the least craziest thing about the movie.
Maybe
if that were true.
Maybe he little rascaled it.
He could have little rascaled it, yeah. Just had another little person under him.
Or rascal.
Yeah. I wish there would have been more of him in the movie, though. I like that, the weird touches, and you don't really get any insight as to who this guy is, what's going on.
No, we don't see him again, do we?
No.
The David Lynch freaks.
Yeah.
They're in every kind of movie.
Yeah.
All of his stuff.
Jack Nance isn't in this one, I think.
I think we're not going to gloss over Billy Ray Cyrus.
Well, no, yeah, we'll get to that. So
that was the most jarring part of it.
This guy, Adam, he's having a fucking horrible day. His movie gets canned. His wife is fucking Billy Ray Cyrus. He loses all his money and he gets shit beat out of him. So, he's fucked. But, yeah, Billy Ray Cyrus, I don't know. He's pretty jacked in this movie. I didn't expect him to be super jacked.
I just want to know how that came about. Like, I don't know where he was at in terms of, like, name recognition, career
90s,
at this point.
So, like, early 90s, he had Achy Breaky Heart. That was his big, jump into stardom. And then he started acting, like, in, like, the mid and late 90s. He was doing, like, hospital shows and shit. Like, ER-adjacent kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if this was
Did he play a doctor?
I think he did.
What?
Yeah.
And then later he went on to play Hannah Montana's dad.
Yeah.
In real life and in the show.
Yeah.
Yes. So this was during his acting era between the 90s and whenever Hannah Montana
Let's throw acting in quotes.
Yeah.
He was just the pool boy. He was a pool boy banging the wife. But let's talk about, because I think the most brutal scene is in this part of the movie where the giant kind of the big guy,
the big muscle guy,
muscle guy, and he's huge. He's huge, and the wife jumps on him and is holding him from behind, and he fucking clocks her.
Yeah, I did audibly react to that. Oh.
He knows how to handle a woman.
David Lynch has very little aversion to violence against women in all of his movies.
Yeah.
It's, and I don't want to say it's done tastefully, but it's not done distastefully. I don't know. I'll say that.
I've seen worse interpretations of violence.
Yeah. But
no, I love how Billy Ray Cyrus is. I don't know. He's like being reasonable with him, like while beating the shit. He's like, "Oh, it's okay, honey." Like he's just mad.
That ain't no way to treat your wife, buddy. I don't care what she's done.
And then he's like, "Hey, that's no way to treat your woman. I don't care what she did to you."
Yeah.
That was the best line in the movie. Yeah. Just because I just had sex with your wife doesn't mean I shouldn't treat her like a lady.
I do wonder between David Lynch and Billy Ray Cyrus who bridged that gap.
Yeah.
Like who made those two people meet.
I wonder if they still talk.
Hey,
I don't know.
I don't know if David Lynch.
They should start a podcast.
They should, where they just talk about that one scene. Just the whole podcast breaking down how they made that scene.
I do feel like the casting in this movie, I don't know, not a lot of recognizable faces, really.
Yeah,
not a lot of
Justin Theroux, I know, but I only know his claim to fame in my head is Charlie's Angels 2.
Okay.
Which is not his most notable role.
The one guy up front, Robert
Forrester?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even Naomi Watts, who's the most notable now, but this was her breakout role, so she wasn't anyone then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually,
it didn't register to me that was Naomi Watts until you said it earlier. I was like, oh, that's who that was. Like, I know who Naomi Watts is, just didn't realize that was her.
Well, the crazy thing about how good she was, I'm sitting there watching the movie,
it's
right? And there's a scene where he's auditioning the girl and she's there.
Yeah.
And they're both her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking, it looks like her.
Yeah.
But man, they made her look like a completely different person. The two sides of that personality were like night and day.
Yeah. I have a fact about the casting, actually, is David Lynch casted Naomi Watts and Laura Herring just based on pictures of them. He just saw pictures of them and was like, all right, they're in the movie.
The Timothy Chalamet method.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
They did good. They were both great.
Which is interesting too, because like part of the contention in the plot is about casting a movie in this, and so it's like that, like kind of his way of saying like everyone spazzes about it, but me, I can just see like, boom, that's the face I need.
Yeah.
You know.
I loved Coco.
Coco,
yeah.
She was
landlord.
There's something familiar about her. She felt like an old sweater.
Yeah.
Just like class, whatever you would think of as classic Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, she looked like she had been there. And
Yeah.
Like, I used to work in the business. Now I'm the head of the HOA.
Yeah. She was like, oh, these dogs taking a shit. They're allowed, but just don't do that.
I love that. Like, they can do it. I just don't like it. I'm that neighbor.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. I thought that was a little too much dog poop The dog poop got a little
Was
too
a bit
extreme.
excessive.
I think there was enough, actually. I could have used more.
Depends on the size of the dog, not the fight in this. It depends on the fight in the dog, not the dog in the fight.
You
I
said
think
it.
Michael Vick told me that one time.
He said that to you?
He said that to me. Yeah.
Were you in a
I was at his house. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Say
I was in his
less.
backyard.
We were rescuing pit bulls from people's backyards,
Yeah.
but I don't know what we were going
Oh,
to do
so
with
you
them
were the good
after.
guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
That's a relief.
Awesome.
None of the usual David Lynch crew.
No,
Laura Dern, Kyle MacLachlan, like you
Jack
said, that
Nance.
guy, Jack Nance.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't know.
because it was supposed to be a TV pilot.
Yeah.
So none of them would have probably
Mhm.
signed up for a TV show.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
He also doesn't have a cameo in this one, unless I missed it. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
No, I don't know.
Justin Theroux, I think, shows up in either Inland Empire or Lost Highway. I don't know
the
that.
two
for a
I
fact.
haven't seen.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't
Brad,
be able
you've
to
seen
tell
Inland
you.
Empire. Does Justin show
I
up?
started it. It is
Okay.
3 hours.
That's after this, right? After Mulholland Drive or before?
like in terms of chronological.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, it is.
So
Okay,
I
yeah.
think it's newer. 'cause
It's
that's
his
like,
most recent feature.
Okay.
Inland's like what, 2002 or something like that.
Maybe even later than that. I don't remember. Find out on our Inland Empire episode.
Yeah,
Whenever that
when,
comes
when
out.
I finish it.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the story. Naomi Watts comes to her aunt's house and she sees a naked woman and she's concerned, but she also she assumes it's her aunt's friend, so she doesn't really mind too much. And she goes back to sleep. The other girl, concussed girl, she lies about her name being Rita, based off a movie poster. Yeah, I mean, this part of the movie is kind of boring.
It's a damn near 3.5 hour long
Yeah.
movie, and yeah,
2.5.
2.5. Sorry, yeah,
Adam goes to stay with a guy named Cookie, I believe.
That sounds right.
yeah.
Yeah. He's like I don't know, is he Mexican or something? And he's, I don't know.
The only minority in this movie,
Yeah.
or really in any David Lynch movie.
I was gonna say I don't see a lot of representation.
No, or I can't. I said that, and I'm realizing like, no, I like basically every David Lynch movie is all white people, but
He writes what he knows, you know.
northern
That's-
Minnesota, I
That's
can imagine.
experience. We can't take that from him.
Yeah.
So Cookie, he's the proprietor of, I don't know if it was a hotel or if it was like a safe house or just an apartment that Adam was hiding in, because it looked like really dingy and gross on the inside. And so I'm like, wait, well, it's not a hotel, but he paid to stay there. And I love he tells him like, oh, your credit card failed, and he's like, I paid cash.
You got me.
I think he said that. I don't remember.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And his assistant calls him, and she's like, "Oh, some guy called the Cowboy called and told
The
you to
Cowboy.
come meet him."
I enjoyed the Cowboy.
The Cowboy, yeah.
He was like spooky.
He was spooky, but he wasn't spooky in a way that I thought he was going to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You expect someone called the Cowboy told you to come meet them at midnight.
Mhm.
You think, a gunslinger or something, but he's like just a charming man
No,
who
he
is
looked-
trying to help you.
He looked like the Twinkies mascot.
No, he was
Yeah.
dangerous. There was danger under that hat.
There's danger, but it's like
It was a subtle danger in his delivery.
It was like a threatening thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I could be dangerous.
You'll
but-
make the right
Yeah.
choice.
Yes.
You'll see me one more time.
Yes. Are
If
you on the?
If you make
what
a
is
bad
this?
choice, you'll see me 2 more times.
Are you
I like
living the
that.
good
Yeah,
life?
that
What
was
is it that he
honest.
says? It's like, are you living the good life? Are you on the right path? Something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
He's a very inspirational cowboy.
I feel like David Lynch has major phone call anxiety, and like he puts that into a lot of his movies. Like Blue Velvet has that. Wild at Heart has that. There's always like very serious, scary decisions being made with like a vague character on the other line of the phone in David Lynch's stuff. So maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I think he doesn't like to pick up his phone.
I can see that. I'm not afraid of picking up the phone, but I sometimes don't like it, so I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point now where if it's not a contact, like if it's just a number, I don't answer.
Same.
And I'm like that. Like 20 years ago, every phone call was just a number. You didn't have
Well, no,
contact.
20 years ago there wasn't a number. It just rang.
Well, yeah, exactly.
When I
So
got the
it's like-
phone, just rang.
Yeah. Back in the day, you answered the call because it could have been your mom, it could have been the doctor, or it could have been the cowboy. But now,
Right.
The cowboy calling.
I don't answer the phone unless it has a name or they leave me a message.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a period in time too where even if you could see the number, caller ID was just for the rich folk. Right? You had to. What made I say you had to? That was a feature.
It was an additional.
That was an
As
addition.
the caller, you would pay for caller ID
You had-
to someone
yeah.
else. Okay.
or to get caller
to
ID.
get-
on
okay.
your phone.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was. It's not like today where it's just.
Automatic.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Um,
All right, we're at Cookie's Safe House.
Cookie
Meet up
Safe
with the
House,
cowboy.
meets up with the cowboy. The cowboy is a real charmer. I don't know. What else? Let's go back to the girls. The girls, they're trying to figure out what happened with this accident. They're trying to detective it because they want to be in the movies.
This is before murder podcasts were a thing.
Before murder podcast, they had nothing to do. These fucking white chicks from LA, they don't know what to do with their time. So they're like, let's solve a murder.
They're not the first. Well, they actually may have been the first, but they certainly weren't the last.
True. Yeah, the police are investigating it, but they only investigate it for like one scene.
Yeah.
Oh, I just remember my favorite scene is the assassin who just keeps accidentally killing people.
Yeah. What was the point of that
It's
scene
just-
at all?
So my understanding is that Adam's contact information was in the book that the other guy had. So he killed the other guy so he can get Adam's contact information.
Okay.
So he can call him to tell him to meet the cowboy or something. But he shoots the guy, accidentally shoots
The woman.
the woman next door, and then he tells the cleaner boy to come in there so he can kill him.
Janitor.
Janitor.
Also called janitor.
You've
Yeah.
never seen Half Baked. It's custodian.
Custodian.
Or a janitor if you want to be a dick about it.
Yeah. He shoots the custodian, and then he accidentally starts a fire that sets the alarm off. He's like, fuck it, I'll just leave. Yeah.
I may have done the same if I were killing people.
Yeah.
No witnesses, right?
It was a brutal scene, though.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
That's
I mean,
kinda
he
fun.
goes and the other woman wouldn't have died.
That's
You know
yeah,
what I
that's a
mean?
good point.
And she
Yeah.
wouldn't have even known he existed. She just thought she got bit by something.
Yeah. At that point, it was like he's making a bigger mess than,
Right.
you know.
Everything made it worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of the end of Barton Fink. You guys seen that?
I've never seen Barton Fink. Yeah.
Just ends in like, yeah. I mean, it's not a spoiler. It just, yeah, a building gets lit on fire and there's this like demonic energy emanating off of a guy who just loves killing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Barton Fink did show up in the recommended after I watched this movie, so
Yeah, another
connection there.
picture about the pictures.
Yeah.
I think I like that one. It's good. I don't know. Like we kind of said at the beginning, there's just so much to read into this, all of it. And it's
Yeah.
like, if you need to put the cheat sheet on the DVD, you're coming off as pretentious to me. And like, that's fine. I liked it more now seeing it a second time through, but like, it just, I don't know. It kind of just felt like he's like, I'm going to make my own thing about Hollywood and it's going to be for me to enjoy and everybody else to figure out. You know, that's kind of the vibe I got from it.
It is a movie with, I mean, it's got a Twilight Zone-y type twist at the
Yeah.
end, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it definitely is one thing and then it reveals itself as another.
Mhm.
So I can't believe anyone could sit through that in one sitting and have a real understanding. Or those people work at a different level than
Yeah.
I could ever hope to be. But like that's what I'm saying. Like the second I saw it, I'm like, oh, I think I could appreciate this now that I actually have digested it once.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now that it's not a complete shock coming at me,
Yes.
I think I can watch this again and really, really, really start to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so the cowboy tells Adam, you have to cast Camila in the movie, otherwise you're going to see me 2 more times. I want to know what he's going to see him 2 more times for. I want to, is he going to...
That did kind of
Yeah.
make me think. I'm like, okay, so the first time of the 2 times you're not going to kill me,
Uh-huh.
but the second time you're probably going to kill me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like a little bit of a.
3 strikes are out.
I think maybe he'll kill him, and then at his funeral, it was a little.
Ah,
Okay.
I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
a good way to think of it.
Yeah.
I thought he was like, we'll go grab some food, I'm going to head to the car, and then I'll come back the next day.
We
I'll
can
go
talk
drop you
again.
off because I
Yeah.
got shit to do.
Well,
But I'll come back.
Yeah.
If you go with the idea that this is a dream, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Right, then it makes that's the kind of line that makes sense
Yeah.
in a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any. Doesn't make sense if you actually. Like one of those things was like, oh, yeah, it sounded better in my head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
The cowboy, he shows up later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what.
He's in the scene where she's auditioning with the handsy guy, the handsy older guy.
Yes, that's right. There was no context for him being there.
No.
Oh, it was to see Adam.
No, because Adam wasn't even in that scene. It was a different director.
Right, but Adam, he cast Camila right after that scene. So it could be he was on his way to see Adam.
Wait. She goes there, Betty. I think which is she Betty at this time?
Yeah.
And then she goes to the other one where Adam sees her and says, "This is the girl."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's
The cowboy just walks in right
yeah, just to that dreamlike quality. Because that guy who gets scared to death by the homeless lady, he shows up later when she's at the diner and they just like look at each other, and that's it.
Yeah.
He's in like one other like frame of the movie just for that reason.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It kind of reads like a dream.
Yeah, well, yeah. Same thing with the elderly couple. When she's leaving the airport, she's like talking to this elderly couple, and then they get in a taxi, and it just like it holds on them, like sitting in this taxi, like holding hands or whatever. And then they show up at the end, and they're like, I don't know, they're like yelling at her or scaring her or something. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. They're like, oh.
Yeah.
That I do remember.
It's like that dream thing of like in your dreams you can only see faces of like people you've seen before. You ever hear that?
I have, but I have a hard time believing that because I had a similar conversation with somebody years ago. This is back. I was working. This is the most random place I had this conversation. I was working at an H&M, just doing the truck with a bunch of people, and someone on my team like brought up like, oh, you can't like make up faces in your head. Like it's always like faces you've seen before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your brain is capable of so much, and it can't do that. That's where I'm like skeptical.
I'll make one up right now.
Right, exactly.
All right.
That's weird because like I feel like most of the people in my dreams are like nondescript people.
Me too. Yeah.
It's just like
Really? I feel like I know.
I don't know.
I mean, you
I
see
don't.
so many people though. Just walking in the mall, your brain's taking in.
Maybe that's what it is.
You can't
It
sneeze.
could be,
You can't sneeze and keep your eyes open.
That's true.
That's very
We're just going random.
Did they do that on Mythbusters?
Yeah.
They did a yawn at thing. I was just talking about Mythbusters with my brother the other day. They tested to see if yawning was actually contagious, and I think it was.
I was gonna say, for me, it is.
I wanna yawn right
every
now.
time someone yawns, not every time, most times.
They I remember when I was a kid, they used to say if you sneeze with your eyes open, your eyes pop out.
Right.
And I don't think, and now as an adult, I realize your body doesn't have the force to do that, and your eye sockets aren't big enough. So that one is a myth busted.
I busted that one myself.
Yeah.
Cut away to Mythbusters.
Don't cut away. We can't afford it.
Yeah.
My brother tried telling me they like had a falling out and hate each other now.
Really?
There's, I don't think that's true.
I don't think so because I saw
They're just old. They're like retired.
I see like the sidekick people in commercials sometimes.
The
No, I
lady,
think
the lady's around, the hot ginger lady.
I think they were fired. The younger ones were fired because they just wanted Adam and Jamie, and because when Grant he
The
died
Asian
a few
guy
years
died,
ago,
yeah, recently.
and Adam Savage, he did like I think that's his name, right? Adam Savage.
Mm-hmm.
He did like a whole like thing about like they like showed his laboratory and whatever, and he was like, oh, he was my best friend or whatever. And so that touching kind of thing. R.I.P. to Grant.
Grant Imahara.
Imahara.
That's his name. I remember that. And then the lady's name was Carrie.
Carrie, yeah.
And
Tori was the guy's name.
That's the one I couldn't remember. Was the white guy was Tori?
Yeah, because he had a lady's name. That's how I remember it.
I just remember too seeing so many episodes of her like super pregnant. They did like at least they did a season of the show and she was like 8 months pregnant in every episode. I'm like, dude, she's working. Good for her. It's crazy. I just like seared into because you said she's on commercials now, and I remember seeing her and like my memory from her from childhood is like she was just pregnant like in every episode of the show. But yeah,
Good for her.
yeah.
They don't have paternity leave at Mythbusters.
The Mythbusters kind of look like David Lynch characters.
They kind of do, yeah.
little bit.
I can see a David Lynch movie about the young people crew, like something weird happening to them.
And Jamie. Jamie has that weird mustache and the hat.
Yeah.
He was the first person I thought of when he
Yeah.
said it.
He looks like a David Lynch antagonist, almost. Yeah. He's no Dennis Hopper, but he could do it.
Okay, so back to this movie we're talking about. Something happens. Betty goes to some weird audition. She makes out with an old man. She does kind of egg him out because she puts his hand on her butt. There was a bit of tension where it was like, was this supposed to be like she's nervous about it, but then she gets comfortable, or is it just like, oh no, she's like game 100%?
She just does. I think that's like kind of part of the thing is she just slept her way to the top, you know?
Possibly.
Which especially...
Well, her aunt's in the business, so that's how she got the audition.
Yeah.
Well, I think she's living Camila's audition, but she's putting herself in it.
That could be the case, yeah, because Camila was definitely more sexually liberated post a dream than Diane was.
Because we know Betty actually is a failed actress, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't succeed. She didn't sleep her way anywhere. She was, I think,
Diane,
resentful.
Betty is...
Diane is Betty.
Yeah.
Oh, it's even hard to just talk about the movie. Yeah.
Diane is well, if we want to say, Diane's the actual
Failed
person.
actress, yeah.
Yes.
Betty is the manifestation
Yeah.
of her to deal with the trauma.
Yes. So Rita, she sees the name Diane at a diner, the waitress's name, I believe, and she's like, I know the name Diane. Like, we got to find Diane. So they go to her apartment, and she switched with another lady. That lady is like, I don't know, there's like weird tension there. She like wants to go with them to her apartment, but they don't. And they find a dead lady laying in her bed, and that just breaks Rita. I don't remember. Was it Betty or was it Naomi Watts who was dead in the bed?
That's what I was thinking after the fact. Like one of the things that because this is early in the movie, where they see the dead kind of decompose a little bit, body on that bed, right? And part of one of the things I thought was then not to Sixth Sense this, but she's dead the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that is the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but then it kind of just fills in to that point, which, it's very confusing.
It is.
And I have no idea what I'm talking about. But I was just like, I'm grasping.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to say that was Naomi Watts who was dead, but I could be wrong.
No, I think it was.
I think so too.
All right.
That's I'm voting 3 for 3 here on Naomi Watts being dead in that scene.
Sure.
Yes.
You can abstain if you don't.
I didn't get a good look at her.
I thought it was Nev Campbell.
So they're sleuthing along, trying to solve a murder, just going into everybody's place that they can. And...
Yeah. Okay, Rita wakes up in the middle of the night. She says, Silencio. And then they're like, oh, we got to go to this club called Silencio, where they watch music. Cookie, I think Cookie is... did I just...
I love the way you said that, watch music.
They watch music. They watch a lady sing a song, and they get a blue box.
Blue box.
The blue box. And it just so happens the blue box has a hole that's the same size as the thing that they found in Rita's purse. So Rita opens the box, and everything goes to normal, supposedly. Resets, yeah.
They found the sanity box, and she just happened to have the little thing for it.
She ate her box, and she loved it.
I love that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I did want to touch on that. Like, why... Was it, like, intentional? Like, did he think he was, like, doing something? Or was David Lynch just like, I want to make the hot girls do it together?
Yeah, I think that, too. Yeah.
I wondered, like...
If you ask him, he'd probably say both.
Probably.
Yeah, it felt strange to me, especially having seen like, Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart. Like it's about like heterosexual couples, and it's like a very like almost like, violent, weird sexual dynamic in both of those movies for different reasons. But in this, it's just like the hot girls like kissing each other. And I'm like, why did he choose that?
Leading up to that.
It's just, it felt so strange.
And then it's just like, oh, let's fuck. And then they do, but then in reality, they were secretly lovers. I don't know if it was secretly, but they were lovers in real life. But it was, the sex scene was very unnecessary. You could argue every sex scene in a movie is unnecessary, but this one especially was
with
like...
age, do guys sit around a table and go, it really wasn't necessary to throw in all the hot naked, was it?
Look, I'm looking at it from
There's like a boob count, and once you've seen enough, it just sort of rolls over, and you're like,
I actually agree with you 100%. It's... if it wasn't there, I don't think anybody would have missed it.
I wouldn't have noticed.
A simple, I love you or a kiss or something could have gotten the point across.
Right, she was obsessed with him. That's all they needed.
Yeah. I think, David Lynch just wanted to film them naked.
Right.
Who could blame him? Am I right?
No, I mean,
Ew.
there's cool
I think you gotta
sex
sell
scenes
that
in
better to the guy. Who
movies.
can blame it, right?
Hey, come on. Look at this guy. He's getting all these actresses with their titties.
There's cool sex scenes in movies, even if they don't like always service the plot. Like,
it's not. Yeah.
I always say I think the coolest movie sex scene is Bram Stoker's Dracula. You guys ever seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I am aware
the Keanu one.
there is a popular sex scene in that.
Well, it's like he's on this
He's
bed.
having a threesome, right?
Yeah, and so he's having a threesome with the vampire chicks. And, if you're a vampire head, vampires don't show up in mirrors. And there's a mirror above the bed. And so it shows like him, and then it shows a shot from the mirror, and it's just him laying there, and the sheets are all moving around.
It's pretty sick.
But there's no one like with it. I think that's a cool ass sex scene.
That is cool. I would like to see that.
It's tasteful. It kind of services, but not really services the plot. But I enjoy. I think it's a cool sex scene.
I think the best sex scene is in American Psycho when he's like hitting the chick.
That's a
behind,
classic.
like, flexing in the mirror.
Wait, how do they do it in the camera?
Yeah,
that's a great one.
I love the memes that came from that surfaced a few years ago. Because one of my personal favorites was there's one where it's that frame of him like looking at something, and the image under it is just a big bookshelf of Blu-rays, and I'm like, oh, that's me.
Yeah. Everybody's, don't just stare at it, eat it. All great scenes. Sex sells.
Sex does sell.
Yes.
I don't know. It can be done. Or The Room. Where Tommy Wiseau fucks her belly button. Have you guys seen The Room?
Yeah.
I've seen it. It's been such a
I've
long
only
time.
seen the movie about the movie.
Okay.
Oh, the disaster
I've seen
artist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I met Tommy Wiseau at Main Art before it closed.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, really?
It was just like, he would go, I'm sure he still does it. I don't think he's got much else going
He
on.
was here at least once or twice a year.
Yeah, they go on tour and he comes and does a show and he does like a photo op. And it was when I was a freshman at U of D, and like it was me and this one other kid, and we like paid for the photo op. He just like grabbed both of us, and he was like, "All right, now go." It was just like the most awkward shit ever. But
Man, you gotta get him on the pod. That'd be hard.
That would be difficult.
It shouldn't be though.
No, it would be hard to get him, but it would be hard to communicate.
Yes.
It would be both. I bought a Blu-ray copy of The Room for my friend for Christmas a few years ago.
Yeah.
Mind you, I bought it in like early November, so like about really okay time for holiday shopping. You should be able to get it before Christmas. I got it in March.
Holy
Damn.
fuck.
And it came like from his house, I'm pretty sure.
Tommy delivered it.
Yeah. He also has a line of underwear with a free pair.
He's also a UPS guy.
I have your package.
I never knew how to, but I always wanted to meet Sugar Man. He's from Detroit. Did you guys ever see Searching for Sugar Man?
Oh, Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Rodriguez.
I've not heard of this.
Oh,
really?
Okay, that's a different show. It's a different show, but it's a whole show. It needs its own show.
Okay.
It's a Detroit. But real quick, it's a Detroit guy in the '70s, and he makes an album, goes nowhere, and decades later finds out
in
he's
like Korea
basically
or something.
in
right?
like
South Africa.
South Africa, yeah.
Finds out he's basically
I have heard
Bob
of this.
Dylan in South Africa.
Yeah.
That does sound familiar.
He just died a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
That's
I was.
long.
Maybe that's how I heard of it then.
Yeah.
I found out I do landscaping. I was mowing a lawn, and someone got their newspaper thrown up on the porch, so I moved it, and I just saw the headline of like Sugar Man Rodriguez dead, and I'm like, that's a weird way to find out about something dying, but no, that's a great documentary. It's very good. Good music too. He's a good artist.
Yeah. All right, sorry. Okay, so Diane.
Something about Diane. What? I don't even know. No, okay.
Diane Keaton.
Diane Keaton. Okay, so she wakes up, and it turns out this whole thing was a dream, sort of. Or I looked.
We're in a different reality.
Some theories, yeah. There's alternate reality theories. There's time travel theories. There's dream theories. I think the dream is probably the realistic theory.
Because she goes to sleep.
Yeah.
And then 2 hours of the movie goes by, and then she wakes up. I think that's kind of what it's supposed to be, his dream.
So Betty and Rita, they don't exist. They're Camila and Diane. And they're lovers, and they're actresses. Camila is a successful actress. Diane is a less successful actress. And they're going to a party at Adam's house. And they're driving down Mulholland Drive, and you think there's about to be a gun shooting crash accident, but no, it's not. No.
Right.
They arrive to the party safely.
They do redo the scene from the beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We don't stop here. Right.
Yes.
They go to the party. They find out Camila is engaged to Adam. Coco is Adam's mom. Also, Camila makes out with the waitress, or a lady. Despite the fact that she just got engaged to this guy.
Right. But also that Diane, her career never went anywhere because Camille got the role that would have made Diane a star.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, they met in the waiting room of whatever her big picture was.
Right.
Also that she wears a wig that looks like...
Yeah, the wigs were kind of throwing me off a little
Yeah.
bit.
Early in the movie.
Earlier, yeah, this was in the dream.
Because she's hiding.
Yeah.
She's hiding. She thinks that, the Mr. Rourke, he's going to send his guys after her. So she wears a wig so she can look like Betty. I think it's to look like Betty, right?
To not look like Rita,
Yeah.
Okay, she gets mad. She finds out about the engagement. She hires a hitman to take out Camila, because that's what you do when you're mad about something, is you hire a hitman to kill them. Yeah.
It's only fair.
It's only fair. And he tells her, hey, sure you want to do this? And she's like, yeah. Of course.
Great hitman. It's trying to talk the client out of it. He's like, you sure? I mean, I cannot do it if you don't want me to.
Yeah.
Well, because he knows that when she says yes, then all the psychosis, and the guilt kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She should have just Tanya Harding'd it, knock out a kneecap.
There you go.
But she gets so distraught by this, she's losing her mind. She decides to just end it all, and she kills herself. And that's the end of Mulholland Drive. We skipped a lot of stuff.
But it was all so disjointed, I think we hit most of the real,
I think we're
the realish stuff of the plot.
Specifically missed.
Yeah.
Just the old people screaming at the end, but we covered that
earlier.
We did cover them.
I was like, I remember them.
Yeah. I think that was supposed to be her grandparents or something.
There was an old couple in the beginning of the film that...
Right.
From Canada.
They're like, best of luck to you.
No, but I watched an analysis, and they said
I could be wrong.
that was supposed to... No, you're right. That was the old couple from earlier in the movie. But I think that was supposed to be her grandparents, and she won a beauty competition. I don't know if this is ever mentioned in the movie, but it's just from what I saw from a YouTube video. So it's probably wrong. But we'll ask David.
Well, she won some jitterbug thing, right? And
Yeah.
Moved and...
Oh, now the dancing makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't put that together.
When you rewatch the show, we talked about it about an hour ago.
We gotta plant some seeds at the end of the episode, so that way we get them to watch the whole way through, so they can see.
So to me, it made them based on the research. I don't want to pretend like I. In my one viewing,
PhD in David Lynch.
I gleaned the following. Now, it makes sense that the reality of the movie is the last 20 or so minutes,
I assume so.
and that the rest of it is all just basically her dealing with the consequences of hiring the hitman,
Yeah.
killing the woman, or at least trying to kill her, and all that, and the guilt, and then that led to her ultimate suicide. But it just made sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
But again, like I reserve the right. Now I need to, under that guise, I need to rewatch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And go, all right, is this what this is? You know?
I think that's what like the consensus interpretation of it is, but
Definitely.
yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
makes
it does.
sense. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too because like I don't know, if I would have done it, I would have done
If I was David Lynch.
if I were David Lynch, I would have done it. But I don't know, I would have I feel like I would have made it more personal rather than like killing someone else. Like I feel like the theme is sort of like the loss of humanity and morals to get ahead in Hollywood. I think that's more or less the big overarching thing. And I don't know if jealousy is the best way to approach it. Like, I feel like there's a better way you could do someone losing their morals than like, oh, my friend got, the role that I didn't, so I'm going to like murk him for it.
There's like two trains of thought, right? Or two ways to think about things. You can think of rising tide helps all the ships, right? And if that's your mentality, then anytime any of us succeed, we all have the potential to succeed and better ourselves. But there's another, deep-seated psychosis that if you get picked, right, you get the gig, that means I didn't get the gig. And if you weren't in my way, I would have got it, right? And so that's a whole different kind of way to look at the world. And I think that's how Naomi Watts' character looked at it. Like, she was only not successful because of Camille and the choices that she made, which were if she was slept with someone or did something, or somebody said pick her, and went around the system, so it wasn't fair to her.
Gotcha.
So fair to her meant unfair, but it's not. It could have been someone else. It might not have. If it wasn't Camille, it could have been.
Yeah,
a different
that's true.
person, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, you do stand up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can probably relate to that entertainment showbiz stuff more than I can. So that's I like that analysis, though. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah,
it is interesting though because that's not David Lynch's experience. His experience is
he's the weird guy.
A shitty experimental film, and then he's like making like just big budget Hollywood pictures, and they might not be successful, but everybody loves him, and
everybody.
All the people in the know, all
his fans love him.
All his fans love him. But I mean, even Hollywood loves him. People line up to work with him.
It is funny. I think Hollywood loves him, but he does not love Hollywood.
Yeah,
it's an unrequited love.
The director is like one of the villains of the movie.
True. Yeah. True.
Outside of the dream, like you're not supposed to like the director.
He's one of the shittier people in the movie.
Yeah. Even in the dream, like he's not a great guy. So
I don't know. I heard in passing once that this movie has something to do with the way. Wait, no, that wouldn't make sense. Must have been Inland Empire. The way David Lynch processed 9/11, but this came out before 9/11, so that would make sense. Never mind. Scratch that.
It would actually make the most sense.
All conspiracy theories
it
wrong.
It doesn't make less sense than anything else.
And then they say Gerard Way started My Chemical Romance because of 9/11 or something.
Something like that.
He's a trailblazer.
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen, The Rising, greatest album ever.
That was inspired by 9/11.
Yep.
What was that album?
The last episode I was on with you guys, we ended up talking about 9/11.
Oh, that's right.
I think it was closer to 9/11.
Yeah, I think we recorded on 9/11.
Okay, all right, fair. Yeah,
I think it was the 12th actually.
Yes.
I'm just saying, what's up?
There was an album, some band. Neutral Milk or something.
Neutral Milk Hotel.
Oh,
Yeah. They made an album that was based off Anne Frank's diary.
An airplane over the sea, of course.
Right.
Quintessential.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard it before. I don't understand how it could have inspired, but
that's like one of the meme albums. If you see this in the guy whose house you're at's record collection, Red Flag, Run and Hide is in an airplane over the sea by Neutral Milk Hotel. I think it's great. Jeff Magnum, the guy who did they made two albums, and that's the famous one, and now he's just a dickhead. Like there's videos of him performing by himself, and he doesn't let anyone film the concert, and he sees someone with a phone in the crowd, and he's just like, turn it off, like screaming. Yeah, he's a very weird guy. But yeah, New Ship Milk Hotel is great. Good album. Recommend.
What does it have to do with Anne Frank though?
A lot. So there's a song literally called Holland 1945, which she was from the Netherlands.
Little on the nose.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the one song, and that's very much about Anne Frank. And then there's other
Dave drops her.
and then, gosh, what the lyric? That's a very almost like David Lynchian album because it's a sort of a surrealist approach towards Diary of Anne Frank.
I gotta check that. I never even heard of this.
Yeah, I don't know. People, I feel like people have seen the cover of the album, but they don't know it. But it's good. It's really great. But yeah, there's a lot of just weird stuff about death, and then like interpersonal sexuality, which is, I guess, part of like the Anne Frank. I've never read Anne Frank's diary. I just know the album.
Hurry up, because it's being banned everywhere.
Yeah,
so
right. Get it while you can, or then you'll only be able to experience it through the album, and that's how everyone will understand Anne Frank.
Or the movie.
Is there a movie?
There
has to be, right?
Natalie Portman, I think, played her.
There's been a couple movies, I think.
Okay.
Same, yeah.
Well, this podcast took a turn I didn't see coming. But
when we last talked about this, did we talk about Justin Bieber's visit to the Anne Frank house?
No, but we talked about it on the Pop Star episode. Yeah, I was thinking that too.
I've been to the Anne Frank house.
I've been too,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you think she would have been a believer?
I think she was trying to believe in herself.
Maybe more a Swiftie, but yeah.
Probably. I think so, dude. These Swifties, man, I'm scared of them.
They were supposed to take down Ticketmaster and they failed me. I was devastated. They were gonna because Ticketmaster was allowing such ridiculous upcharges for sales and resales and shit. And then people in Congress were like, "Oh, we're gonna fucking investigate this." Nothing.
They were supposed to break it up, right?
I think they were going to do something like that.
Yeah, they had a monopoly case against Ticketmaster,
and then last I heard, at least nothing came of it. I think a hearing or two happened, but...
Wait till the Democrats win the next election and they tie it back to the GOP attacking Taylor Swift.
I call it.
That'd be great if Taylor Swift became the most divisive. I mean, she's already pretty divisive, but is the spark that ignites the Second American Civil War between left and right is that'd
be pretty funny.
Well, in the 70s,
she'd become a general.
In the 70s, Henry Winkler, when he was a Fonz, was it made it cool, and everyone went and got a library card, right? And then this last election cycle, Taylor Swift is go register and registrations for voting
400% or something
through the roof. Insane.
That's crazy.
She's powerful like David Lynch.
Yeah. So mad.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about her appearance. I'm talking about her music, dog.
Her parents?
Her appearance. Although I do think she was rich girl industry plant. I might be making that up.
Her father's the CEO of
some record company or something. But yeah,
can't deny that girl's talent. I will not sit here.
I don't see it. All of her music sounds the same to me.
I don't listen to
her. But everyone's
every
Maroon 5 song sounds the same too.
Yeah.
I once drove an hour with my brother somewhere, and we're listening to Rush, and I'm like, you know what? Every one of their songs sound the same. And it turned out we had it on repeat, the same song, we listened to over and over again, but didn't even notice.
That happened to me with Pink Floyd's The Wall. I'd never listened to it all the way through. I knew the hits off of it, and when I was in college, I'm like, I'm gonna go and listen to the song, and then I'm like, wow, this album's really long. And I checked my phone and it had looped over again. It all just sounded so the same to me.
I didn't think about Anne Frank once this entire album.
I don't know. Some Rush, it does all sound the same, but people like that.
No, a lot of things do.
Yes.
I mean, it's just
what you're into. And if you like it, of course,
I love Rush. I've seen him live a few times.
Nice. Good. I have a friend who's seen him live a handful of times too. People who like Rush like Rush.
You brought up American Psycho. I love Huey Lewis in the News. I've seen them twice.
Twice?
I saw him once.
Do they tour still?
Not anymore. Huey's gone a little bit deaf.
Oh.
So it's hard for me to say. But I saw them for the sports 30th anniversary at Freedom Hill.
That's awesome.
Sports is the greatest. I have it on
They
LP.
did it front to back. I've never gone to a concert where they've done that. It was incredible.
The greatest song.
That's awesome.
And I saw them again a year or two later when they just came back. And then like a few years later. That's when COVID and stuff happened. So
I was at a conference in Dreamforce, like for Salesforce in California.
Yep.
And so their theme was Back to the Future. And this is how much money these people have. They just hired Huey Lewis and the News to be on stage and sing Power of Love, like so they could do a Back to the Future skit. And this is how much money these people have. Like
as a bit, like not even
as
it's
a
like
bit.
one
they
song.
paid him for 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Oh, and then over lunch he did a concert. That's how I saw him in concert.
Okay.
Then he did a concert.
That's really cool.
It's these companies like Oracle and Salesforce and stuff. They spend millions a day. Millions.
Rocket. They do shit like that too all the time. Where they just drop buku dollars for like the most absurd appearance.
Yeah, someone I used to work with told me he used to work there, and for the very first Christmas party, they had like Kid Rock perform. They like bought out the whatever, or no, I guess Dan Gilbert like owns a stadium. What, Cleveland or something? Yeah. And so they partied there with Kid Rock all night. So it doesn't sound like a great night to me.
I would have rather stayed home.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm gassed to see Depeche Mode next month. Got like the VIP tickets. They're an all-time fave of mine. I've never seen them in person. I'm so excited.
This would be great. It's so expensive now, some of these.
Yeah. I got them like as soon as they announced, like in the summer. I was like dropping.
I can't remember what concert I was just looking at. It was like $500 a ticket. I'm like, $1,000 to go. I mean, I'm not going, but like $1,000 to see.
Jerry Seinfeld is like $250, and I'm like, I don't like Jerry that much. I could see him.
What's the venue? Is he coming around here?
I think it's Fox.
Okay.
And that's cheap. I mean, as far as tickets go, these days, that's cheap.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Damn.
Wow.
All right, Brad. Final thoughts on Mulholland Drive.
Like I said earlier, this one bothered me the least. I would actually rewatch this one. That's all I got.
All right, Jeff.
I went from what the fuck am I watching to be very intrigued to wanting to watch it again. I think it's got staying power, and I think it will be one of my favorite movies at some point.
All right.
Oh.
Also, you have a podcast, and you have a YouTube channel, and you have a Spotify, and you have a...
I have a podcast
Anything
called...
you want to promote?
Yeah.
I have a podcast called Classic Conversations. It's on, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you want to go. I have a live show called Crossing the Streams. That's on YouTube.
Great name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. If you search Classic Conversations, Jeff Dwoskin, you can find the live show and then all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, thanks.
It's a good time. Yeah. Gunnar, what are your final thoughts?
So this is my second time seeing it. The first time I saw it, it was like, what the hell am I watching? Second time around, it's all right. I looked at the Letterboxd reviews people had for this. And I'm like, why? People think this is like a 5 or like a 4.5. I'm
love this movie.
I don't get the appeal as to why people love it so much. I'm giving it 3.5. It's not bad, not great.
I'd give it a 3.
Yeah. I do like your point though. It is the least offensive David Lynch movie. Yes.
I do think since our last episode and watching these movies, Wild at Heart might be my new number 1 David Lynch film.
That might be my favorite so far.
Yeah, I really like that one.
It's wild and crazy, but I think that's the appeal, obviously.
Wild at Heart.
Yeah.
Gunnar, do you have a YouTube channel?
I don't have a YouTube channel.
Don't check out better stuff.
Nah.
I think we'll see you next time. Big peace.